Welcome to the Pocket Sized PR podcast, the podcast where pocket-sized chunks of PR wisdom are distilled into bite-sized portions by industry professionals. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Chief Revenue Officer of Salesfire, Tim Johnson. Now, Tim has an interesting perspective on PR because he's from a sales background, but in my opinion, it all counts towards attracting sales for a business. So, Tim, please can you define PR?
I'll give it a go. As far as I see it, PR is part of the top of the funnel activity before we get into the sales process. So when I put together go-to-market strategies, it always starts with demand gen at the very, very top of the funnel. So we want to go in warm instead of going in cold. So PR for me is that awareness piece that allows you to go in with a warmer conversation rather than a cold one.
I really liked that definition, and I believe that to be true as well. So how important would you say that kind of top of the funnel activity is in terms of the sales process that you do?
I think it's crucial. I do a lot of sales training, and I do a lot of troubleshooting on companies when they're not performing. And usually if you're having a bad time now, whether that's a bad month, a bad year, whatever that period looks like, you tend to not look at what you're doing now. You look at what you weren't doing 2-3 months before that, depending on what your cycle is. So often I see businesses where their sales, or individuals where their sales are down now, and it's not necessarily because of what they're doing now, it's because they didn't do top of the funnel activities 90 days ago, 120 days ago, and things like that. So for me, that first step in the process, that brand awareness, that storytelling, that establishing the direction, whether that's a brand strategy or that's a particular campaign, you've got to start with awareness before you then go into selling and closing and all that kind of stuff.
It's so lovely to hear. And I'm sure there's a lot of sales professionals who think like you as well, but there's also a lot who don't. And it's literally just about, getting the meetings in, closing it, and they don't think about the process that comes beforehand.
I just believe in going in warm. I don't believe in cold calling. So I've run a lot of sales teams, and I've hired a lot of salespeople and so on. And I always stand strong that I actually don't believe in cold calling. So a lot of people think that what I mean by that is I don't believe in telesales or outreach. That's not the case. I believe in picking up the phone and having conversations. But I know that when you pick up the phone and go in warm, it's much better than going in cold, not just from a performance in terms of the reaction you're going to get from whoever it is that you're ringing, but also from a mindset perspective. If you're an SDR or a BDE and you think you are doing a warm call or a follow-up call, it's much more comfortable. You fear rejection less than what you would if you were just going in cold. And I think PR as well, I think there's a misconception that it's purely for your ICP or your target market. I actually think PR is part of the internal story as well, so that you can use that PR to build confidence in those teams. So in businesses I've been at, we've put a lot of attention into case studies, award entries and things like that, not just because we're proud to shout about what we do, but that credibility works kind of inside the business as well as outside the business. So that when you're ringing somebody and you're calling from a position of we're award winning, we're proven, we've got case studies that say the product actually works, those limiting beliefs are reduced because you get buy-in from the people that are picking up the phone and dialing out.
Oh, also true. Loving our chat so far. Okay, so has there ever been a PR campaign that's directly affected kind of closing a sale, whether positively or negatively?
Yeah, loads. We tend to I preach this a lot. We tend to start with case studies. So I actually think there's a lot of people that don't trust sales calls, don't trust salespeople, me included. So I actually have worked in sales for 20 years, and I'm the first one when somebody tries to sell me, like I call it out, or I see that it's just a sales pitch and the barriers come up and so on. So it's natural for people to feel that way. And I always say the lines to people, don't take my word for it, Google it, or don't take my word for it, speak to my clients. Because it's much more credible when it comes from a third party rather than coming from yourself.
Agree.
So where we're talking about PR within campaigns, I actually think case studies are key. So like we normally start with a case study. We get an example of something where we've had success, and then we use that case study as the foundation for everything else. So let's say, for example, I'd worked with a shoe retailer and we'd got massive results for that particular retailer. We might target other shoe retailers saying, do you want to see what we did for somebody that was like you? And I think when you're storytelling, it's really important that you back that with props, you back that with visual evidence and so on, that can show somebody that we're not just saying these things as a salesperson, we've actually got evidence to back this up. And the evidence that we're showing you, the story includes somebody where it is somebody that's like you, so you can see yourself being within that story.
Totally. So important. Would you say it is that makes the brand story compelling and trustworthy, having the as close as possible to that customer in mind that you'd like to attract?
Yeah, you've got to have these kind of lookalikes. And I tend to find you have the biggest impact. I actually have a Venn diagram for this, boring as I am. The biggest impact tends to be the closer it is to them, or if you go up. So if you use a case study of someone that they aspire to be, if you use case studies of people that are way above them. So let's say, for example, you targeted me and I was at Salesfire and you said, oh, we work with Microsoft. Like, that might lose my interest because I'm nowhere near the size of Microsoft and I don't want to be Microsoft. So whilst you might be name dropping big names, if I don't think that would relate to where I'm in the business that I'm at right now,
good point,
it won't work. So you're best off referencing either people that I aspire to be or people that I compete with, and tell me a story about that, than what you would be something so far up that I just don't relate to it. It's all about the person seeing that case study and thinking, oh, that's like me, and I have that problem. Maybe they can solve that problem for me.
Yeah, that's such a good point about going one above, that aspirational figure that everyone wants to be, as well as someone like them. So, yeah.
The question I normally say to people when they're thinking about what names to reference is, if that business moved in next door, would they care? Okay. So if you imagine you're a retailer on the high street now and you're a small independent shoe shop, keep picking on shoe shops, would you care if Nike moved in next door? Probably not. But if a national retailer of shoes that sold the same brands that you sold moved in next door, would you care about that? You probably would. So normally when I talk about reference clients, I talk about people that are either geographically in the same region for certain businesses, referencing we work with people like you in this area can work. I talk about case studies that are in the same sector as what they're in. So we work with businesses that have the same challenge as you, or the same goals, or the same aspirations. And then if you can actually match these together, so I work with people that are like you and in your area, it compounds and you have a much higher hit rate. So starting with a case study and then building out from that is really powerful. And what I also find, it's interesting, I found a book a few years ago called Crossing the Chasm. It's about how to scale and grow businesses. And when we read that book, it was very similar to the natural trajectory we'd actually gone on. We'd had a lot of success with a business called VisualSoft. And what that book talks about is rather than trying to be everything for everybody, it's pick a niche, dominate that niche, and then go to another niche saying, we're the company that dominated this niche and now we're going into this one.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good messaging. And absolutely, in terms of the case study, what we try and do is maximize its visibility in terms of getting it in the media. So again, it adds that extra layer of credibility and endorsement to it, so that, you know, if the sales team, rather than just having a great case study on the website, they can say it was actually so good, it was in this media or this trade publication, which again kind of amplifies everything. And then on the messaging side of things, how important is it that your messaging aligns with the marketing and all the communications that are going out?
Again, I think it's crucial. So when we do this in training and we brief teams in, I normally give examples of launches of video games. So let's say, for example, I don't know, FIFA will launch in this year's FIFA 26, or whatever that looks like. You'll often find that it's in your email inbox. It's on a billboard when you went somewhere. You're seeing it in the press. It's all over your socials. You're seeing that message everywhere so that you can't get away from it. And I know for us, people need to see our brand like 8 times before they'll actually believe it and buy into it. So you can have the higher impact if you do that at the same time. When you spread that across, if you say, well, I'm going to do PR this month, and then I'll do an email next month, and then I'll do social a month after, you don't actually have the impact you would have if you launched all at the same time.
Definitely. And even in terms of the language that's used, say, on a sales call, how important is it that aligns with something in a press release or on an advertising billboard?
Yeah, 100%. So we actually do this as well. So we do an internal briefing before it goes out. So we'll get our sales and service teams into a room and literally say, this is the campaign that's about to go live next week. These are the questions that you might get. This is why we're doing it. This is the thing behind the story. So we've just done a campaign there at Salesfire where it sounds crazy, but it's a milk carton campaign. So we're sending out these milk cartons to our target market, going down the road of, do you know, like in America where you've got a milk carton, there's a missing person on the back of it. So it's kind of like, are you missing out on customers? Because we can identify these customers that you don't see. And we filled it full of sweets and we've sent it out. So we're having a lot of success with that particular campaign, mainly because people aren't used to getting a milk carton in the post for chocolates. But we got the team in beforehand and briefed them on it. Otherwise, the internal teams might be like, why on earth are we sending milk cartons out? Like, what's the point of this? So they can all get bought into it and we're all aligned and on the same page.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And that creativity as well goes a long way, I think, and standing out. There's so much noise out there at the minute. If people get something different, and again, using the posters a bit different these days compared to email. So I love that campaign. I'll be looking out for my milk carton though too. Okay, can you explain, in your view, what the difference is between selling a product and promoting a brand?
So product selling for me is transactional. So often it's very linear in terms of it will do this, functionally it will do that, and it'll either solve a problem or it won't. Selling a brand, and it's very Simon Sinek, start with why. But selling a brand's selling it on whether or not you have a shared aligned belief structure. Do I believe what this brand believes? Do I want to support what that belief is? So it's more of an emotional sell rather than a transactional sell.
I agree. And how important are emotions in the sales process?
8%. So I think 8% of buying decisions are based on emotion, not logic. Normally what you do is you back up a purchase with logic. And again, I'll give you an example of that.
I believe that. Mm-hmm.
You go to Tesco's and you're walking to get your bread, and you see on the end of the aisle you can get 3 packets of Monster Munch, 2 for the price of 3 or whatever. And you get to the till and you even laugh about it and say, only came for some bread, and you've got a load of Monster Munch that you don't need.
Totally.
So when you get home, you then justify that by saying, but look how much I saved. So if logic was to kick in, your logical side of the brain would say, we don't need all of these Monster Munch, what you're doing. But your emotion of, we're going to miss out on an offer, we're going to miss out on something that's too good, you buy it and then you back it up with logic.
Mm-hmm. Totally. The Boots 3 for 2 offer gets me every time. Yeah. Got me last week as well. I think the same with one of the most biggest purchases we make in our life, buying a house. Yeah. You know, you might have something in mind, but you walk in, it captures your emotion, and your logic justifies, oh, but we need that extra bedroom, or we need that bigger garden. So, and yeah, it's crazy how that works. Yeah. How would you like to see PR better support sales campaigns in the future?
I think it needs to be more integrated. We have this at work now. When I arrived at the business, marketing and sales were 2 totally separate functions. And the truth is they would blame each other. So it's kind of like, oh, well, they're not doing their job closing the deals. They'll say, well, they haven't sent us enough leads. And you're stuck somewhere in the middle. It needs to be completely joined up so that everybody's on the same page. And I think the companies that seem to do it well, they have this kind of joint demand gen sales function. And actually, everybody knows that they're supporting everybody. So in our example, we go down that funnel and then back to the top again. So we ultimately want to create awareness of what we do and talk about the problems that we solve. We want conversations then with people whose problems that we solve. When we give somebody our product, they can normally do a free proof of concept to see if it works or not. They then buy it. Now, when it works, we then get the CS team to turn that into a case study to feed it back to demand gen. Yeah. So if they're doing a good job and they're getting good results, the circle of life's completed because they feed that back up, which a lot of companies don't do. They don't have a process that says, if we're getting a good result for customers, always feed it back to the top.
Really good point. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we get a lot of friction from salespeople who don't necessarily want to give time to give the case study. Again, it's an education piece in, showing how important it is in the whole funnel, as you say. Yeah. But, I understand it can take time out of the day, but it's so important to get that information. Am I right in thinking that you sell sales at the minute? No, what do you sell?
So Salesfire, I have 2 hats.
Okay.
So the company I work at, primarily 4 days a week, Salesfire, we are conversion optimization for online stores, websites. So the best way I can explain it to you is attunement as a consumer. If you're on a website now and you'd left something in your basket and you get an email saying you've left something in your basket, we're the company that's sending those emails. If you're on a website and your mouse goes to leave the website, we see that your mouse is going that way and we pop up and go, where are you going? Do you want 10% off your order? And you put your email in and we keep you on the site. So our technology ultimately is there to stop people from getting out of the sales funnel.
Okay.
But in a nice subtle way that keeps you, nobody likes interruptions, right? So a lot of people say, I don't like pop-ups on websites. I don't like pop-ups that are at the wrong time, but if I'm in a checkout for pizza and a pop-up comes and says, here's 10% off your order, I like them ones. So it's certain moments you would welcome it if it's at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah. Timing is crucial in everything.
And that's what our technology does ultimately. It isn't just a pop-up. It's intelligent on mouse movement and it predicts what that user is going to do next and then interrupts their journey with something that's actually going to help keep them in the buying process.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for explaining that to me. I never really knew. What's your top PR tip to end on?
Top PR tip? Don't underestimate the value of PR in your SEO. So it's probably a little bit different to the answer you'd get from a lot of people. But the first thing I think that needs to underpin that is you need to be authentic. So whatever you're doing with your PR, make sure that it's credible and it's authentic so that You can back it up when you have conversations with people. It's no good trying to be something that you're not. But as an added value to that from my world, a lot of people don't realise the impact that PR actually has on where you rank on a search engine. So if you do PR well, it could be the difference between you ranking on the first page of Google or nowhere. So yeah, if you don't understand how that works, speak to somebody.
I totally agree. And also, I think PR is going to gain more prominence with AI search because, again, it's all about the trusted sources that it kind of gains its information from.
So there's a tip for you. So if you want to learn the algorithm of how ChatGPT gives you its answer. So if I said to it, who's the best person for PR in Darlington? Ask it how it got its result. So you can actually say, how did you get that result when it recommends it? Because it'll tell you how to uncode it. And you're right, it basically gets it from trust signals online. So it gets it from review sites, it gets it from articles that have been written, it gets it from blog content. So the more that you can feed that with the narrative that you want to get across, you can manipulate essentially what results people get when they go chatting with AI to find answers.
Amazing. Thanks for that extra tip. Thanks, Tim.
Nobody can do business with you if they don't know about your business. But nobody will do business with you if your business's brand doesn't have trust and credibility. PR is the secret sauce in the marketing mix that can help achieve this and so much more. If you're interested in how PR can help your business, contact Harvey and Hugo, harveyandhugo.com, or email info@harveyandhugo.com.